Hello YgoPro fans, around here I will do a deck profile with Demise Majespecter. So this is the deck I've been playing on my channel for the last week and a half now. It's a really fun deck. I've had some decent amount of testing with this. It's fun to do and play. You can have quite decent synergy with card Demise. It can run lovely floodgates. It gets its own searchable traps. What's not to love? The only downside to this deck so far I've seen is the fact that we have to run a higher monster count, as we don't have something like Scout or Tenki, something that's a spell card that we can search with. We have to rely on our monster summons, which is a bit of an annoyance. You can end up discarding Majespecters through Demise, but there are things to take away this drawback in this deck, which is very nice indeed. It's definitely going to be something your opponent will enjoy playing against, because no one in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has really enjoyed playing against Majespecters. Not since their release, they really haven't been enjoying that. And let's make it even more degenerate. Yay! Yeah? Okay. Let's go into the deck profile. We have one Luster Pendulum, because it's at 1. It's a good scale for this deck. We don't run a Draco engine, mainly because special summoning is not as common in this deck, although it does occur quite oftenly. It's just not common on turn 1, turn 2. And if you draw that face off, you have to do it in your opponent's turn. Not to mention you're running more monsters, so it wouldn't really work. It'd be more of a minus to run a Draco engine in this. But we can still run the Luster Pendulum. It's still good for all Pendulum decks because it gives you another copy of the said Pendulum in the other scale. It can also recuperate losses from card Demise, as card Demise would give, if it gives you a monster and you've already normal summoned, you can put in the scale with Luster Pendulum pops that, so it puts one in the extra deck, so when you discard it, you've still got a copy to use later on in the duel, which is very nice indeed. Plus it can give you Ignis Prominence, but that's not as common. Then we have triple Majespecter Fox Kyubi, which searches out our trap cards, doesn't search the board, which is the best of the trap searches, and it's 1500 body. It's alright. It's also scale 2. Then we have triple Majespecter Toad Gamma. Well, I should say O-Gamma. It can search out our trap cards, but it sets them on the board, so it gets around Mistake. If your opponent seems to play that, it's highly likely they would at this point in the game, because it's a bit too slow, but you can do this with Kyubi and get 2 traps out of the deck on one turn, which is very nice indeed. It's a scale 5, which is decent. We've got, I believe, 7-to-6 ratio on scales, which is quite alright to be fair. Then we got triple Bambuku. Bambuku is our main searcher, such that any Majespecter monster usually puts him in the scale if I'm using my card Demise. If not, I search out Kyubi to use its trap searching built in next turn, or search out the other my scale if I'm going to Pendulum Summon. It's a very good card because you can just Pendulum Summon this out and then get your normal summon after when you search with this card, which is nice. The only drawback to it is the 1200 body. Then we have triple Majespecter Cat Nekotama. We don't run any Crow because its spell cards aren't as good as the trap cards. Plus they're not very they're not very reactive, they're quite proactive, and that's never that good on turn 1. The triple Majespecter Cat is definitely necessary in this deck because its resolution is at the end phase, so you can stack the Demise above the Nekotama, so Nekotama can get its search and you still have a hand at the end, which is very nice indeed. The only drawback to her is that she only has 100 attack points. 5 girls could easily break down that border, which is a shame, but usually you'd have some spells and traps in the back row to hopefully protect her for that point. But in the other plus side of things, you have her as an 1800 defense, which is nice. Spell cards: 1 Upstart Goblin, because they want to make it a 39 card deck, keep consistency in this deck. Triple Card of Demise. You draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. If you don't use them this turn, you lose them this turn, which is so nice. Pay 8, feel great. All those kind of shenanigans. You set those lovely fight back row with monster. Your opponent's not going to be happy playing against that. The downside being you can't special summon that turn, which sometimes hurts this deck, but only minorly. You have to choose whether to use your card Demise modalities, or go for that Pendulum Summon, go for that attack, or go for that defense. It takes a lot of thinking about this deck sometimes, but it's very fun to play, very fun indeed. Not for your opponent, obviously. And you have to discard your hand at the end of the turn. Usually you can save 5 cards, so that's decent enough for a restriction. Then we have triple pod duality to search out the monster or the tower demise when we don't have it. It's always very good. It's not special summoning, so you usually want to use these in the same turn. Then 2 Necrovalley. I'm not using Majesty's Pegasus mainly because it did do some things good, but Necrovalley is a lot better, and Burning Abyss and PK Fire are bad matchups for Majespecters, so Necrovalley definitely comes in very well indeed. I don't run the Gravekeeper's Commandants or Terraformings to get this out of the deck, just because I don't have room, but you could put Terraforming instead of Upside Goblin. It does basically the same thing. Then onto our traps. Triple Drowning Mirror Force. This is very live in the deck, mainly because your Majespecter spells and traps tribute as cost, so you have Drowning Mirror Force to keep going on and protect you, which is very nice indeed. Drowning Mirror Force basically can be put in any deck as long as it has some kind of removal or some kind of dead drawing system. Then we have 2 Magic Deflector, which protects our Necrovalley and our back row from those Twin Twisters or MSTs. Very nice indeed. Then we have triple Rivalry of the Warlords, because this deck generally doesn't play multi-types. It's mainly spellcasters except for 1 dragon, and that's generally in the scale, so Rivalry doesn't hurt you that much. Plus it makes the game a bit grindier, and this deck can definitely grind out more than most other decks, particularly because it could just pendulum walls, and that was always good against Cosmo. Now we have Rivalry as well to back that up, which is very annoying for your opponents. Then we have 1 Pendulum Reborn for when you don't have Necrovalley up on the board and you had to discard a Majespecter to the graveyard, or you don't have any scales up and you want to special summon them from the extra deck. You can do this on your opponent's turn, but always be careful. If you're chaining this to something, you're going to miss timing on your Majespecters. So try and do it when you're not chaining, so you can still get the search. Always nice to get a search of Bumbuku on your opponent's turn after you've used the trap card. Very nice indeed. Pendulum Reborn, definitely a good card in this deck. Double Majespecter Tornado, easy spot removal, good against Monarchs, good against PK Fire, good against Draco Powers, banish the Luster Pendulum. Be thankful that you won't go against another Ignis that turn, or another Ignis, any Ignis to that game, which is very nice indeed. It's also a bit of a defensive situation when you can't really do anything. You can put your Tornado down and hopefully protect your life points, which is nice. Definitely more than usual. Usually they only run 1 Majespecter Tornado and more focus on Tempest, but spot removal is very good in this deck anyway. The only problem this has is when you're going against Cosmo. Then we have 2 Majespecter Tempest. We don't need 3 because we already have a lot of counter traps in this deck, so 2 of them does seem sufficient enough. You can bump it up to 3, but I prefer 2 at this point for the Demise build, because sometimes they can be dead. There's always a possibility. Plus you're already running 4, you don't want to run 5 and then draw all 5 of them. Plus there are points when you can dead draw triple Tempest turn 1 and completely brick, but I haven't had that problem. I know a friend of mine has though, at a regional, which was not good. The only main loss he had today. So yeah, Tempest, very good. Searchable Storm Strike, very good for this deck. 2 Chaos Trap Hole for Dante and Beatrice and Titanic Galaxy and all the ones you don't want to go against. 2 Storm Strike for mainly for Cosmo, because that's good against Cosmo, and it's good against Pendulum Summoning. And we'll 1 Warning, because it's Warning, obviously. Then onto the extra deck. 1 Dante, as it's a Cherry Blossom target. 1 Zen Mains, as it's a decent defense of 2100, and can pop cards if it's going to be destroyed, which is nice indeed. Then 1 Grand Pulse, also a Cherry Blossom target for Magnus, but it also MSTs, and that's great. 2800 defenses, nothing to be sniffed at. Then 1 Totem Bird, because it negates spells and negates a spell and trap, which is very nice. A portable Solemn Judgment, essentially, if you back it up with your Monster Effect Negation, which can be very nice indeed. We don't run the Acid Golem, but it is a possibility to put in this deck. Definitely if you're going against Skill Drain, you may need it. Then onto the rank 4s, we have Kaga Cowboy. There's been a few times previously playing Majespecters that I've needed this, so I kept it in for this build as well, because taking 800 damage is always nice. Well, for your opponent at least. 1 Abyss Dweller, because Monarchs and Monarchs and PK Fire are still a thing. We want to drown them out. And melt it. 1 Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer, for when you've really bricked and you would rather have the Luster Pendulum in hand or something like that, or need a Bumbuku. or you just want a nice 2000 defense. Then we have one Lightning Chidori, very makeable in this deck. If you have the option for Chidori in the deck, you should run it. It's technically a little bit better than Castell, but it has different usabilities essentially. One Castell because it's still Castell. One Trapeze Magician. This is a little bit better in this deck, to be fair, because you have Rivalry. You can make a nice 2500 monster to beat down your opponent. Plus you can protect against effect damage. This actually came in a position where I really needed this monster against a opponent which was using Burn, and I basically beat him down with Trapeze Magician, which was so fun indeed. Then we have the Giga Brilliant engine, which is 1 Giga Brilliant and 1 Digital Book Calbeige. You don't use the effect of Giga Brilliant, it's just a base. And Digital Book Calbeige, I've used this against Monarchs. It's really good against Monarchs, I should say, because it shuffles back their prime and can recuperate their losses. So you continuously annoy them while they're under Mask of Restrict, which is very nice indeed. Digital Book Calbeige, definitely something that will be affecting meta and the upcoming formats. For any deck that can play this, they should. Unless they've got a really restricted extra deck like Metal Flames. Then one Radioactive Ultimate Falcon. We don't have an Ultimate Falcon out in this except in the side deck, which is Ferret Flames, since it affects your opponent and not the monster itself. You can get out of Ultimate Falcon, but you still have the possibility to go against this monster, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So Cherry Blossom, it's away. Then one Ignis of Prominence also has a Cherry Blossom target, but it's also a way of outing Cosmo, which can always be nice, but Drowning Mirror fosters it as well. Dinosaur, again, Cherry Blossom target if you know your opponent's going to be playing triple Dinosaur, and that's a key card out of their deck. And it's also a defense for your Majespecters, which is nice. The deck is definitely a fun deck for you to play yourself, but not very fun for your opponent because it's a Demise build. No one's going to have fun when they go against Demise. But yeah, I like the deck, definitely. It's definitely the way I'm going to move forward with Majespecters at the moment until we get Ties of Brethren, which will definitely change the deck a lot. It will take out the Demise and continue with this. And probably Computer C could change the deck a little bit more in the future as well, but I'll probably update it for that point. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this, want to see further content. Please leave your comments below if you have suggestions for this deck or suggestions for my channel in general. If you want to see a specific deck if you want to specifically see a specific deck, leave those down below in the comments. I will endeavor to try and get those done. And if you want to see when I'm streaming, please like, subscribe. Please like my Facebook page, which is in the description below. Thank you for watching. Matt Durand signing out.